You're 34. You're sitting in a job interview. The room smells like coffee and new furniture, and the man across from you is nodding at everything you say. You're nailing it. 10 years of experience, real skills, real results. He likes you. You can tell. Then he flips to the last page of your file, and his face changes. Not angry, just done. He's looking at a number you got when you were 15. He closes the folder, shakes your hand, and says they'll be in touch. They won't. That number was decided before you even knew who you were. And in this world, it's the only thing anyone cares about. There was a time when a bad report card just meant a quiet dinner and a disappointed look from your mum. You could fail chemistry and still open a restaurant. You could drop out and start a company in your garage. People changed careers at 40. People surprised everyone, including themselves. The world was messy, unfair, slow, but it had one thing going for it. It gave you room to figure things out, room to fail and come back different. Then someone decided to fix that. They called it the Permanent Record Act. And honestly, when it was first announced, most people thought it made sense. The idea was simple. Why should companies guess who's good enough? Why should universities gamble on students they don't really know? What if we just tracked everything from the start and let the numbers do the talking? Politicians loved it. They called it fairness. No more rich kids buying their way in. No more nepotism. No more luck. Just performance. Hard data. Real merit. Parents supported it too. Finally, a system that actually rewarded hard work instead of connections. Here's how it worked. From age 6 to 18, every test score, every assignment, every attendance record, every behavior note, all of it fed into one number. Your permanent score. At 18, that number got printed on your national ID. And from that point on, it followed you into every job application, every rental agreement, every loan request, and every marriage registry. One number for life. The government brochure called it Your Future Simplified, which, looking back, was probably the most honest thing they ever said about it. You were 6 years old when the system started watching. Your first graded test is a Thursday morning. You're 7. The teacher hands out a sheet with 10 math problems. You get 7 right. Not bad, you think. You walk home proud, paper in hand, and show your mum. She stares at it for a long time without saying anything. That night, she signs you up for a tutor. By 8, every kid in your class has one. Birthday parties start disappearing. Not because parents don't care, but because there's no time anymore. Saturdays are for practice tests now. Sundays are for review. Your best friend used to come over after school to play. Then his parents moved him to a higher scoring district 3 towns over. You don't hear from him again. You're 11, and something shifts. School doesn't feel like school anymore. It feels like you're being measured every second of every day. Your teacher isn't really a teacher anymore. She's more like an accountant, feeding numbers into a machine that never forgets and never forgives. By 12, kids don't talk about movies at lunch, they talk about scores. What did you get? Is the only question that matters. The 93s sit together. The 61s eat alone. Nobody told them to separate. They just did. The system didn't build the walls. It just handed children the bricks. You're 13. A girl in your class has a panic attack during a science test. Crying, shaking, can't breathe. The teacher pauses the test for 5 minutes. The room holds its breath, not out of concern, but because every wasted minute is a wasted mark. Then the test resumes, because the system doesn't have a button for she's going through something. It doesn't know her dad moved out last week. It doesn't care. Here's the thing nobody talks about. When you tell a kid that every mistake is permanent, they stop making mistakes. Sounds great, right? But they also stop trying new things. They stop raising their hand when they're not sure of the answer. They stop being curious, because curiosity means risk. And in this world, risk is permanent damage. Psychologists have a name for this. They call it learned helplessness. It's what happens when someone figures out that no matter what they do, they can't change their situation. So they just stop. They stop trying. They stop hoping. They do the bare minimum to survive the system without getting hurt worse. You're 14 when you first feel it. One bad semester in 7th grade, the semester your parents were fighting every night and you couldn't sleep, has been dragging your average down for 2 years. There's no appeals process, no reset button, no I was 12 and going through the worst year of my life. You're 15 and you've already made a mistake that will outlive most of your friendships. But you didn't have it the worst. Your parents did. Now you're the parent parent. You have a daughter. She's 8 and she's smart and funny and she draws these little comics about a cat who solves crimes. You love her more than anything in the world. You also know that every bad day she has at school is now a scar on her permanent record that never fades. So you stop helping her learn and start preventing damage. You check her homework not to see if she understands it, but to make sure there are no wrong answers going in. You quiz her at breakfast. You cancel her art classes and her weekend drawing time because none of it counts toward the score. You replace it with extra math. Parent-teacher meetings feel like quarterly earnings calls. Other parents compare numbers in the parking lot like they're comparing stock prices. Some of them are pulling strings, bribing tutors, getting early access to test questions, gaming the system however they can. You tell yourself you'd never do that. Then your daughter comes home with a 72 on a history test and you feel your stomach drop like a stone, and suddenly you understand exactly how far desperate people will go. The worst part isn't the pressure, it's what it does to her. You watch your daughter lose her spark. She used to draw for hours, now she studies for hours. She doesn't complain, she doesn't fight it, she just gets quieter every month. One day you find her old sketchbook under her bed untouched for 6 months. You want to tell her to pick it up again, but you don't, because you know the score won't care about a girl who draws. You're not raising a child anymore, you're managing a portfolio. Then comes the day the score becomes permanent. It's called National Score Day. Every 18-year-old in the country receives a government-issued envelope, white paper, blue seal. Inside is one number, the number that will define everything that comes next. Some kids celebrate, most don't. A few don't even open the envelope, they just hold it, staring at the seal, feeling the weight of something they can never take back. You open yours. The number is fine. Not great, not terrible. But you know what fine means in this world. It means a ceiling. It means the best jobs, the best neighborhoods, the best parts of life. They won't even look at your name. You glance over at your best friend. She's the smartest person you've ever known. She reads books for fun. She taught herself to code when she was 14, but she had one terrible year. The year her mum got sick and her dad walked out. And that single year pulled everything down. She opens her envelope and doesn't cry. She doesn't say anything. She just goes very, very quiet. In a world with no second chances, silence is the loudest form of grief. Sociologists call this labeling theory. Once a system puts a label on you, everyone starts treating you like that label. And slowly, without realizing it, you start becoming it. Not because that's who you really are, but because that's all anyone will let you be. Now the real punishment begins. You're 25. You apply for a marketing job you're perfect for. The role matches everything you've spent 5 years building. You don't even get a rejection email. The system filtered you out before a human being ever saw your name. Minimum score requirement 82. Yours is 79. 3 points, that's it. Housing is the same. The apartment you want has a score requirement printed right on the listing, next to the rent. You end up in a neighborhood full of other people with numbers like yours. Same low scores, same postcode, same ceiling. Sociologists call this institutional segregation, where the system quietly sorts people into separate boxes and then acts like it's their fault they can't get out. You're 30 now. You've changed in every way a person can change. You've read more books than most people with a 90. You've built real skills, run side projects, failed and learned and grown in ways that 16-year-old you never could have imagined. But none of it shows up anywhere. The system measured you when you were still becoming a person, and it decided you were finished. Dating apps show scores next to your photo. People swipe left on a number before they ever read your name. You apply for a business loan to start something of your own. Denied. Not because of your business plan, because of a maths test you took at 14. Here's what makes this system truly cruel. Somewhere in this world, there's a 40-year-old woman who would have been a brilliant surgeon, but she scored a 69 at 17, the year she was taking care of her younger siblings because her mother was sick. She never got near a medical school. She works in a warehouse now. She's good at it, but every time she watches a medical show, her hands move along with the surgeons, and she has to look away. There's a man who would have built a company that employed thousands, but he was a terrible student at 14. Distracted, restless, couldn't sit still. His brain just wasn't ready yet. By the time it was, the door was already sealed shut. The system doesn't just punish failure, it punishes timing. And the worst possible time to be judged forever is when you're still a kid figuring out who you are. But here's the part that really breaks people. You're a hiring manager now. 200 applications on your desk. You don't have time to read them all. You don't have to. You set the filter. Below 75? Gone. Below 80? Gone. You're left with 12 clean candidates. Quick, easy. You'll never see the 68 who taught herself to code at 22. You'll never meet the 71 who built a community kitchen that feeds 200 people a week. They don't exist in your system. You're not a bad person. You're just busy. And the system makes it so easy to be efficient. But efficiency is just a polite word for erasure. Cracks start forming. Underground networks. People teaching each other skills the system says they don't deserve to have. Back alley classrooms in basements and rented garages. A retired teacher running secret coding workshops for anyone below a 70. Fake IDs with better numbers traded on the black market. Because in this world, your number is your identity, and changing your identity is a crime. A growing group of people give up on the system entirely. They live off-grid, build their own economy, trade skills instead of scores. For the first time in years, some of them feel like themselves again. The news calls them dropouts. They call themselves free, but the system adapts. It always does. Score checks at grocery stores, at hospitals, at border crossings. You can't rent a car, open a bank account, or board a train without scanning your ID. The walls keep closing in, the cracks keep getting smaller, and the people trapped inside them keep getting louder. Now step back for a second. Look at this world from the outside. The system wasn't broken. That's the thing. It was doing exactly what it was designed to do. It sorted people early, and it kept them sorted. It didn't fail the kid who scored low after one bad year. It was never built to help that kid in the first place. And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. We already live in a softer version of this. Your school grades follow you into college. Your college name follows you into your first job. Your first job follows you into your career. A criminal record from when you were 19 follows you for decades. A credit score built in your 20s decides what house you can afford at 40. One thing leads to the next, and the chain rarely breaks. We just don't stamp it on an ID card. We don't call it a permanent score. But ask anyone who's ever tried to outrun a bad start, and they'll tell you it might as well be. The system didn't fail. It worked exactly as it was designed to. That's what makes it terrifying.